All right, I just kind of feel like I don't have a lot of content, not a whole lot that I could actually just put up because I'm so tied up doing home projects and straightening out the shop over there and trying to get everything done as life just happens and there's no time to really play with the cars. But I had did a video of the 69 F100 and it seemed to get a lot of views, a lot of comments. So I figured I'd do a video, a little backstory, how I ended up with the 68 Plymouth, and a little detailed walk around. So I had a 87 Jeep Comanche, not the one I painted. If anybody's following this Podunk channel, not the one I'd painted. It was a different Jeep Comanche that I had built, and I was about 2 hours away from where I was staying at, and I broke an axle shaft. So I called my buddy up, E-Body Evan, and we weren't able to use his AAA. If anybody knows AAA, hey, you physically have to be there. The guy who, whatever the stipulation is, it doesn't matter. But he said he did know a guy who lived somewhat close to where I broke down at. Never met the guy. And I called him up. He said, yeah, tow it over to my shop and just you can just wait in your shop. So I had to tow it over to his shop. He let me get in his shop and stand around and kind of wait. And when he got in there, he had a 69 Plymouth Roadrunner. And it was a beautiful, beautiful car. It was not fully done. And when I say beautiful, it had some rough spots here and there. But when I saw that car, I knew I had to have it, So I called him up and said, hey, what's going on with that Roadrunner? And he said, not for sale, but I do have a 68 B-body. And it's actually a nicer condition than the Roadrunner. It's actually a rust-free, completely clean B-body. And we ended up making a deal. Now, he sold me this car for 10 grand with the motor, the 440, the 4-speed, and all the parts to put it back together, which you know how that works out. When somebody says they have all the parts to put it back together, it usually comes out of pocket. And which I did. I still had $7,000 in parts after the fact. That's with everything to put it together. And if everybody knows Mopars, they would realize that that's the truth. Every single thing on Mopars is ungodly expensive. But that's how I ended up with the car itself. Now, the car itself, it's actually a satellite. It's been GTX cloned. It was GTX cloned before I got it. And some people were like, well, why didn't you just get the real GTX? And, of course, it's because I don't have the money to buy a real GTX. In fact, just getting your hands on a B-body, period, is pretty good in my book. That's pretty good status. Being that it is a satellite, it's not a true GTX, I kind of prefer that because that gives me an options to kind of do whatever I want and make the car my own without too many Mopar guys going nuts, which I sought out a lot of advice from B-bodies only, very positive. A couple enthusiasts that are pretty hardcore. I could just imagine what Uncle Tony would say if he saw this. He might just completely tear it apart. High impact color, something. And of course, I don't know. The guy might go the other way and go, you know what? That's cool, and you're enjoying it. So I don't know, but this is what I did with the car. I watched a lot of Roadkill, so I really wanted a ratty Mopar. When I picked this thing up, if you've seen the build pictures, you'd seen the pictures when I first got this thing. I didn't have a whole lot of videos of doing the car because I really hadn't even thought about doing any kind of videos or putting anything up. So that's kind of how that went down. I always just took pictures of my projects, didn't take any videos. But to do this, originally I was going to go with something close to like a F8 green. But as I got thinking about how I wanted to do the ratty patina, I realized the color was going to have to be lighter in order to show the other colors underneath of what I did. And that's why I ended up with this color. Now, this color itself, it's just mixed. It is Rust-Oleum oil-based paint, black and yellow. You take yellow, you mix black, you start getting green. And when I first laid it down, I thought, oh God, this is not going to work. And then I figured, you know what, I'll start sanding down and see how it looks. And to do this, many different methods that people use to do a patina. I'm not an expert by no means. I just kind of do things trial and error and see how it works out. Now, when I did this, all I did was sand the car completely down. Any little chips or anything in the finish was just filled. So there can't be any chips. As far as body work, there can be small dents and stuff there. You'll see a small dent here and a quarter, and that's fine for me because it is going to be a ratty Mopar. But if it's chipped, then the patina is going to look fake as all get out. But as far as the dents, like you'll see up in this quarter, just leave it, you know. And otherwise, the car is really straight. It really is. Like, this probably could have been a perfect painted car, and maybe I'll do something like that later. But for right now, I'm not replacing every little chrome piece. So I stripped it down, filled every little chip, painted several different colors. The first being silver, red oxide primer, and then different shades of brown and gray to kind of get those colors down. Then painted the final coat, and then just started wet sanding until I started bringing out a pattern that I liked. And that's kind of how I got to the ratty look. See, other things that people like to tear me up about is the wheels. Yeah, I know they look like GM rallies, but again, I was on a budget. And these are just some cheap Vision Steelies. They do look like GM rallies. I guess I didn't really register that they look like that until after they were bought, after I painted them, and they were on the car. But that's what I went with. I think it goes well with the theme that I was going for. And the other thing was my shackles in the rear. Most people, they have their own opinion on shackles. And as you can see, I am on the highest setting on these shackles. I'm not getting anything lift-wise really out of these shackles. If anything, I'm sitting maybe 1/4 of an inch on the shackles higher than where I should be. So I'm using the shackles just for the old school look of having them. Some of you might get it, some of you might not. But again, it's my car. That's what I chose to do with it. And the lift actually comes from the springs. These are 3-inch lift springs. There's a guy, he's got an eBay site and a regular site out of Michigan somewhere, the Spring King. He's not paying me to advertise, but he's got a good price and a good product. So maybe check him out. But they are lift springs. And the back bumper is a 69. Again, we're talking Mopars, and the parts are expensive. I actually found this bumper at a swap meet / flea market for $40 because the guy had no idea what it went to. And the bumper that I had that came with the car was basically, it was done. It'd been painted a couple dozen times. That's why that bumper's there. It's what I've got. As far as interior-wise, the interior was pretty much done before I got it. Somebody had done the headliner up here, which thankfully I don't have to play with that. I have no idea what seats these, if these were reupholstered or what the kit was, but the seats look amazing in it. Again, it's covered in dust because it's just kind of been getting pushed around and dragged around because I've got other projects that I've got to do before I can really get to this. But yeah. And we'll give a little look at the motor, of course. And that is the 440. TTI headers, MSD ignition. I did splurge a little bit and put some CVF pulleys on there. Just tried to make this car look like it was put together with what we just had, you know. And ironically, we kind of did. just put it together with whatever parts I could get a hold of to put this thing together somewhat on a budget. I do have a brake booster for power brakes, so I am going to change that. The only thing that this car is lacking from me just going ahead and driving it around, I got to put some shocks in the front, which no big deal. And then I have a problem with my power steering box. So that's going to be a fun project to pull out. But yeah, that is basically the 68 Plymouth and how I ended up getting it. And yeah, if you're a Mopar guy, maybe you understand the whole reason why the guy would rather hold on to a car with more rust just because of the VIN says it's a Roadrunner. Mopar guys are like that. It's the exact same car, given the marker lights are a little bit different between a 68 and a 69. And the Roadrunner's a post. This is a hard top. But for it just coming down to the VIN number as a satellite, not a Roadrunner, I don't know. I would rather have a rust-free, clean car. But yeah. Anyways, that's a quick walk around of the Plymouth.